Are you feeling overwhelmed with emotions? Do you ever find it hard to focus on things around you? Or maybe instead you feel kind of numb and it's really hard to be in the here and now. If you've experienced any of these things, you might be ungrounded. If that's the case, we can do things to get grounded again. When we get ungrounded, it can be hard to talk ourselves out of it because actually that part of our brain is shut down. And since that's the case, even if someone else is trying to talk you out of it, it's not going to work. In short, during these times, we cannot use our thinking, our cognitions, our logic to try to bring ourselves out of this state. What we need to do instead is to use our senses to help bring us back into the here and now, and essentially bring us back into our bodies. This works because our senses are what we have that connects us with the outside world. By using our senses that don't rely on language and thinking and reasoning, but are just available to us and have been available to us since we were born, we are able to reconnect with the outside world once again. We can use touch in various ways to help us to ground. Two main ways to use touch would be texture and temperature. So varying textures can be helpful to help us to ground. We could be holding things that are around us or touching things around us that are smooth. They could be rough, they could be soft. They could have sometimes with stress balls, this can be helpful for people, the tactile experience of the softness of it, but also the firmness of it at the same time. Temperature can be another way to help us to ground by experiencing something of temperature that is different. So something's a little bit cooler, a little bit warmer, splashing cold water on your face, taking a cooler shower, taking a hotter than normal shower. Sometimes when I have clients who are really triggered, very overwhelmed with emotion, I will have them hold ice. Now, if you've ever held something cold for too long, you know that this can get really uncomfortable. Sometimes though, if we're really ungrounded, we may not feel it right away, and it may take a while. It may take that level of discomfort, that level of a sensory experience to be able to kind of cut through whatever it is that is going through our mind, the emotions or the numbness or the flooding of thoughts, so that we are able to ground again. We're able to connect with the sensation in our hands. We can also use taste as a sensory experience to help us to ground. Anything with a strong flavor could be used for this purpose. It could be a flavor that you enjoy, such as chocolate or maybe strong coffee, or maybe something that is salty or vinegary. Anything that has a really strong flavor. And again, when you do this, you really want to focus on how the thing that you're eating tastes. Scent, or how something smells, is related to taste, and it can be used to help you to ground as well. Think of movies that are set in the past and someone's passed out and they won't wake up, and someone else breaks out the smelling salts and then suddenly they're awake from the smell. We can imagine that the smelling salts don't smell very good, but we can use pleasant scents to do much the same thing. Some scents that people might like to use are citrus or lavender, cut grass. Basically anything for you that is a pleasant scent, you wouldn't mind experiencing it for a while and that you can focus on it. Hearing is a fantastic way to help us ground. It is one of our senses, possibly even more than sight, because we can use it without sight to really give ourselves a sense of location and space. which is if we're ungrounded, we don't feel like we're really connected with anything. But if we're able to use our senses to identify where we are located in space, this can be quite useful to help us to ground. So how this works is that when we hear something, we don't just hear it, we also hear it coming from a certain location. So for example, in my office now, I can hear the air conditioner hum, and that hum is coming from behind me. I can hear birds outside. They are just outside the window. I can hear the ticking of the clock, which is right next to me. And I can hear on the other side of this wall that a door was squeaking when someone was opening it. And in the center of all of those sounds, I am here. And when we're listening to these sounds, we also have a sense of how far away they are from us. For example, the birds outside are further away from me than the clicking of the clock that is right next to me. Again, this further deepens our experience of being somewhere in space and brings us back to our body and helps us to be grounded. And finally, we have sight that we can use to help us to ground. We can use sight to ground by looking around the room, looking around the space we're in, and let's say starting to identify all the objects in the room that are the color blue. Or we could count how many books are on the shelf. We could identify how many objects in the room are round. We could count the slats on a Venetian blind. And we can go a step further with this, and we can also be using the sense of hearing at the same time by when we're counting the objects, we can count them out loud. For example, in my office, there's a blue pillow. My necklace is blue. The hearts on my Post-it are blue. The label on my water bottle is blue. We're able to say these things out loud, which will help to strengthen being grounded in our bodies. As we hear ourselves speak, we feel our mouths moving and we can see the objects that we're describing. Now this one, if we're really overwhelmed, seeing can be difficult. We might need to be a little bit more grounded to use this. However, it can be helpful early on to help prevent you from getting worse if you're starting to notice that you're getting ungrounded. Also, if you're pretty ungrounded, if you're pretty activated, you may need to use multiple senses in order to help you ground. It may be a combination of them, like what I was just describing, or it may be that you try one for a while if it's not helping, and then you move on to the next one. Some other things that you may want to consider to help you with grounding could be through touch, sound, and scent. Snuggling with your pets can ground you as well. Using a weighted blanket. These are special blankets designed for the purpose of having extra weight on you and helping you to relax. You could also listen to music, and you could dance, which activates your entire body. You could sing, you could hum, and you could walk outside into nature. And from a sensory perspective in getting grounded, walking out in nature, the beauty of that activates all of our senses. The things that we see outside, the things we hear, there's scents, there's smells, and when we're outside, they're always changing with the things around us. We're walking, how our feet feel on the ground, depending on if it's grass or gravel or cement. It activates all the senses at the same time. And once you're grounded, and that sense is really that you're in the here and now, whatever is going on in your mind is much more congruent with what's going on in the room. That your emotional state matches more with what's going on in the room. Your physical state, the types of thoughts you have are matching more with what's going on around you. And you're not separated into some kind of old feelings or really strong feelings that don't fit what's going on, or thoughts that are about something else that has nothing to do with what's going on in the room. And with that, it's been lovely spending time with you. My name is Bethany Brunn. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I hope today's video helped you to get back to you. Bye.